everybody, and welcome to the stretch and relax session for the end of week 1. It's going to be a nice treat for the body to release everything out after the hard work you've completed this week. So we're going to start by setting our posture so our feet are roughly hip width apart, and I'm spreading out my toes to make a nice connection down to the floor. I come up through the body and I have a slight softness through the knees, and I think of lifting up nice and tall but without tension, so I'm not standing stiff and rigidly, I'm just relaxing into it. I'm going to bring my hands onto my belly and start to think about my breathing, and I just notice the gentle rise and fall of normal natural breath down into the belly. So it's quite soft. I'm trying to avoid exaggerating my breathing up here, like that. That's more of a stressful type of breath. So we want to be quite soft and quite natural and normal without breathing here. And we'll come back to the breath a little bit more as we go along. But for now, just staying with that awareness of the breathing. We're gently dropping our chin towards our chest. Then we're lifting up and lengthening away. So we have this little stretch through the front of the neck here. We drop down, we lift and lengthen away. And for our first few minutes, it's just a case of having a little check into the body, gently and easily mobilising everything before we come into some deeper stretches. We're going one more time through here, down and up, and then we draw the head back. So I'm lining the chin over my chest and my head is over my spine, the rest of the spine. And then I'm going side to side. So I just have a little look over, little look over. Again, nothing too forced. It's just a nice, gentle, easy stretch. So I'm feeling a bit of stretch, but I'm never forcing or definitely not going to a point of pain. So I'm coming into my last one here, I'm coming back to centre, and I'm now going ear up towards ceiling, shoulder stays anchored down. And the shoulder stays down by me pushing my hand out there slightly on a diagonal. So I'm lengthening away, and I just take a couple more of those, and I just watch out that my legs don't lock. I'm going to keep that bit of softness in my knee. From here I'm going to come back up so the head is nice and tall, I'm back in the centre, I'm very aware of my posture position, and I now squeeze my shoulder blades back together. I'm going to lift them up so they're shrugging up by my ears, curl forwards and slide down. So from the side that looks like this, squeeze back, shrug up, curl forwards, slide down. So I'm basically doing a forward circle of my shoulders, but I'm trying to come into those 4 points of back, up, forward and down. I'm going one more time now, so I curl round for that final circle, and I'm going to go the other way. So I'm drawing back, but this time down, forward, up and around. So it's a backward circle now, squeezing and stretching and rolling those shoulders, loosening them off. So I'm going to do a couple more through there. So it's a backward circle, but it's really moving all the way through that upper back. Last one, rolling the shoulders and just settling them down into the back. So I'm not pinning them back there, but I'm definitely aware of my posture position. Okay, so I've got hands onto hips now, and I pull the tailbone underneath and I send my bottom out. So it's a little rock of the pelvis, forward and back, finding the two extremes of my posture. So my tailbone here is scooping under, and then my tailbone is sticking out. And I just do a couple more of those. I'm then going to settle into the middle, so my tailbone is level or pointing downwards, so my hips are level this way. Okay, so again, just back into that good posture position. And I'm going to do a little rise up onto the tiptoes, so I just hover off my heels, up onto the toes, floating down, and then I'm going to flex the feet, so they're going the opposite way. So I'll show you that from the side as well. So it's up onto the tiptoes, little hover, floating down, whoops, a bit wobbly on that one, and then flex and flex. And we'll do just a couple more of those, lift and float, and then pulling up from the front of the shin. So it's not just the toes, it's the whole foot, and pulling up towards the front of the shin there. Last one here, flex, and then stretch through there, and then plant back down. And from here, I'm going to step my feet out a little bit wider and just take a nice little relaxed twist here. Notice how my back foot is lifting up. So as I'm turning here, this foot is turning with me to allow me to turn nice and fluidly. So I don't want to stick my feet to the floor and be like rigid with my legs. I'm just going to be nice and fluid and relaxed. And I'll just do a couple more of those. And then back to the center and release. I'm going to give my shoulders a little roll now. Shake out my arms, give my legs a little bit of a shake. So everything's feeling a little bit looser, I'm a bit more connected into my body, and I'm ready to come into some slightly bigger movements. So I'm going to come to the top of my mat or the exercise space that you're in, so you've got some space in front of you. I've got my feet again, roughly hip width, with that little bit of softness I talked about in the knees earlier. And again, a general awareness of my posture, stacking up through the body. So from the feet, the knees, hips, ribs, shoulders, and head. But again, it's not tense and rigid. Soften it down. Let's take a breath in and bring those arms up overhead. As they come here, I'm going to roll. Now, just a quick note on this. We'll go a bit more fluidly on the next couple, but just on the first one, you don't want to force your chin right down onto your chest like this. So it's going to be arms up, and then I curl, but I think of just gently nodding the head. I don't force the chin down, and I curl through the spine, and I soften down towards the floor, just coming into this forward fold position. From here, I'm going to walk out, coming into a plank position. I'm going to place my knees down onto the floor here, take a little roll up into a cat stretch, and then a little roll the other way. Then I'm coming back into just a flat body position, and I'm going to send my hips one side. So you can see how I'm squeezing these hips towards the shoulder, and then I go the other way, so the other side's doing it, and now this side is lengthening. And I come back to center. I'm going to lift back up into plank, walk my hands back in towards my feet, roll myself back up, and circle my arms. And I'm going to go through that flow just a couple of times. So we did that little bit of mobilizing at the start when we were standing. We're thinking about moving the body a little bit more so we can get a little bit warmer. So I'm going up and down there. I'm going side to side. I'm lifting into plank, and I'm coming back up. My bum goes high in the air, and then I start at my tailbone and I stack the spine all the way up to the top. And I'm going to roll through that sequence this time, and then one more. So we're coming out into plank, coming to the knees, rolling into cat, lengthening out the other way, into a flat back, into a little side hip, back into plank, hands walking in towards the feet, hips in the air. We roll up one more time through here. So I'm rolling through, softening my knees so that I can get here comfortably, walking it out, coming into a plank, placing my knees, rolling into cat, lengthening away, into a flat back, into a side, hip sway each side, back into plank and back up. So that was our last full one. We're going to travel through that roll down now into some more specific stretching. So I'm rolling down for the last time, and again I'm walking out into that plank position. Then I'm going to place my knees down here, and I'm going to start with my leg that is away from you, so the back leg coming forward. So that's going to come through here like this, and then it comes forward on the mat, so it's now between my hands. So I'm in a hip stretch here. I'm going to let that foot relax now, there, and I'm just staying for a couple of breaths in this position. So I start to feel a stretch in here. Hopefully that's where you'll be feeling it. I'm going to take another couple of breaths, and then I'm going to tuck that toe under and lift into a slightly higher lunge. So I'm still feeling that stretch there, but it's a little bit deeper now. And I'm thinking of dropping my tailbone downwards and just breathing into that position. Okay, I'm going to place that knee down towards the floor. I'm going to ease myself back, and now I'm going the other way. So my bottom now is starting to travel towards the back wall, and you'll see this front leg has straightened out a little bit. I'm going to let my toes go up towards the ceiling, and I'm now just feeling a bit of gentle stretch here in the hamstrings. So I don't want it to be like super forced down on this leg. I don't want this leg to be super rigid either, so downward pressure. So make sure these muscles here, these quad muscles at the top of the leg, they want to be quite relaxed. And if you even need to bend your knee a little bit, that's okay too. So we're there, and we're just doing one more breath. And then I'm going to come back into a more sort of central position, so I'm on both legs. Now the hands are going to come in. This leg needs to switch position, so that's going to slide back. This leg is going to come forward now, so bring it around. So that is now my front leg, and you know, it doesn't have to be a pretty transition. I just literally bring it so it's in line with the hands, and that's fine. So I'm flattening out that bottom foot if I haven't already, or that back foot. And then I start to feel that stretch in the front of the hip, the same as we did before. So it's just easing into it really. And when we're doing our stretches, it's just about finding where we feel comfortable. We've done some mobility, we did for the first few minutes, working through all those joints. Then we did that little roll down sequence. And that was about getting a little bit more warmth into the muscles. Now we're coming into these more specific stretches. So from here then I'm going to tuck my toes under, lift up so I'm in that more high lunge, but you can see I'm still dropping down through the hips here. My knee might even bend a little bit, that's okay, just go to where it feels comfortable. And I'm here and I'm just breathing a few times. We're not going to hold this one for as long as the other one, but just a couple more times. Very nice. Now that back knee is going to rest down so that I can return back to where I started. So this front leg now is going to stay where it is. So I'm in that middle position, but then I'm sending my hips back. So now I'm starting to get this hamstring stretch there. So again, I'm just supporting my weight with my hands. I might need to adjust a little bit, but I'm just going to let the foot quite relaxed, but the toes are pointing more upwards rather than sort of forcing them to go down. Just be quite relaxed in the ankle there. And then I think of sticking my bottom towards that back wall again. And it's just, again, that stretch here in the back of the leg. Trying to be quite soft here. So if you find that this leg is getting really tense, try and soften through there if you can. And we just use our breath, hopefully, to help with that. Okay, let's go one more breath here. And then we're going to come back into that middle position. So I've got weight on both legs now, and then this leg will come back around into that all fours position again. So I'm going to tuck again. I'm going to pull my tailbone towards my nose and pull my nose towards my tailbone. So I've got a nice high cat stretch position. I'm going to go the other way, lengthening out. Not necessarily a back bend, more of a feeling of lengthening head and hips away from one another here. And I would keep a little bit of softness in your elbows. So if I just go slightly more sideways, you can see my elbows are a little bit bent and I'm not locking my elbows rigidly like this. There is better if we can be. Okay, so from here I'm going to take this time the arm again. I'm going to start with the back arm that's furthest away from you because I'll be moving towards you in a second. So this back arm is going to lift away. I'm going to reach up towards the ceiling. So I'm going to twist there. This hand is going to come down and through, reaching towards the screen now, so towards you, and I'm coming down into that underneath twist. This arm is loose, it's bending to allow me to come down, and I might even get to the point where my shoulder's on the floor. If you don't get through that far, that's okay, just keep this arm slightly bent and then release it back through. Now we're going to work through this position, rather than holding it, we're going to thread through a few times there, up to the top and down through to the floor. So let's do two more here. Big stretch up to the top, scoop it through, one more time. And then on this one, we're going to hold it down at the bottom. So this is where if you can get your shoulder and your head, it's going to feel a little bit more relaxed because you can sort of settle into the position. If you're finding just coming down to the floor here is just a little bit too much, then keep this hand, keep yourself up a little bit, but you're still twisting towards me, but it's just that you're not necessarily resting down, and that's absolutely fine. One more breath, back to the center. Back into our cat position, so tailbone towards nose, nose towards tailbone. Breath there, and then out the other way. And then back into just that centre back position again. Make sure those elbows are slightly bent. So we need to go the other side, of course. Let's take it up. There, so you can see that open side of the twist now. But of course, as I go underneath now, I'll be going away from you. So you'll be able to see the other side. So I'm coming down there, and I may or may not be able to get my shoulder all the way down to the floor. It's a little bit trickier for me on that side. It doesn't quite get there, whereas on the other side it does. So it may be as well that you notice one side does feel a little bit different to the other, and that's okay. And we're just going to flow through a few of these as we did on the other side. And hopefully we do find that things loosen a little bit as we go through. Okay, so this is our last one up to the top here. And all the time I'm just breathing nice and gently and easily. I'm not worrying too much about it at the moment. Now again, if I can't get down to the floor, I'll just hold where I can. And if I can rest my head and shoulder down, then I'll come there. And I'll just take a couple of breaths in this underneath twist position, the same as we did on the other side. Okay, so from here I'm going to come back through one more time into my cat. So that is tailbone pulling towards nose, nose pulling towards tailbone, curling through the back there, and then out the other way, lengthening. And back into the centre, flat back position. And then I'm going to do one more go on the hips and shoulders. So it's that sideways, hip to shoulder, shoulder to hip. So the other side is lengthening. And then I go the other way, of course. So now this side is lengthening. Now from here, I'm going to step my hands slightly further forward. So I'm either going to go here. So you'll see my bottom is sticking up in the air. My chest is coming down through the shoulders, my elbows are slightly bent, so I'm not locking rigid arms. Or if you're comfortable in child's pose, then you can settle back here. So this angle of the knee is not comfortable for everybody's knees, and if it's not, then that's why I always show the high hip position first. But if you're comfy down here, you'll be able to go here. Again, I'm still slightly soft in the elbows, those shoulders are getting a nice stretch, and although I've got my head up, that's for talking, we want to generally have our head down here in the centre, quite relaxed, definitely relaxing through the neck, so there's no pressure there. So I'm going to do one more nice big deep breath in and out. So I'm breathing a bit more deeply here, whereas when I was twisting I was just allowing the breathing to flow. Now I'm going to bring the hands towards my knees here, press, and allow myself to roll up. Very nice. I'm going to turn myself around and come and have a lay down on my back. Now, when you come down onto your back, if you find that your head feels a little bit uncomfortable straight flat on the floor, then you would need to possibly put like a thin cushion or a little rolled up towel just to give you a little bit of extra height. What we don't want to have is our chin like on our chest like this, we're in like a big high pillow and it's forcing the neck forward. But if you find that when you lay down your head tilts a bit like this and it makes your chin go up in the air, then you could just try to lengthen the back of your neck by physically sort of lengthening your head. So your chin now is pointing not up towards the ceiling, not right onto the chest, but basically pointing down your body towards your legs. So if that doesn't work, just sort of correcting it like that yourself, then that's where that little bit of extra height, maybe an inch or two, you know, like I say, nothing too thick on the cushion, that's going to be good. So we're coming here. So I'm going to bring my feet slightly closer to my bottom. I don't want them super tucked in like this, where the knees are on a funny angle. I will keep them slightly forward, and there is a gap, a small gap about the width of my hand between my feet. So from here I'm going to roll. Imagine something very small and soft like a grape is underneath my low back, and at the moment I would be putting pressure on it by resting naturally on the floor, but I'm going to try and squash it. And I do that by flattening down through my low back and curling my tailbone up in the air. So I'm going to lift my bottom off the floor and roll up to the top of my shoulder blades, nowhere near my neck or my head. I'm at the top of my shoulder blades, not actually like on my shoulder, the top of my shoulders. And then I'm coming back down, starting at the shoulder blades, coming down through the rib cage here, and then I roll, 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 re-squashing that grape that I squashed before, keeping my bottom off the floor for as long as I can, so I'm curling myself back down to the mat. Now I've kept my arms out of the way here because it's better to see, but you could just have your arms resting down your side here, that would be fine. If you've got enough space, you can stretch them out, because it feels quite nice having those arms stretched away anyway. Something else just to think about here is as you're lifting up and rolling down, watch out for your knees starting to do this, wandering out. Make sure your knees stay slightly in. They're not actually touching, but they should be gently coming in. It feels almost like there's a magnet drawing them together, but not actually strong enough to pull them right in. That will activate our inner thigh and our pelvic floor muscles, but it also just means that we're rolling in a more precise position, which is what we're after really today. So this is about spinal mobility, getting some nice movement through the spine and some nice stretching. It's also a little bit of strength building into those bottom muscles, mainly bottom muscles, but also tummy, back and legs. We're just going to go one more time through here. So roll it up and then roll it down. And all the while I'm just with this nice, easy connection to my breathing. And when I'm done there, I'm going to let my legs stretch away from me, give them a little shake out, just to loosen there. Take a couple of breaths. Okay, and then I'm going to bring my knees back into a bent position, but a lot more relaxed now. So you'll notice my feet are a lot further away. When they were shoulder bridging, they were here, but I'm going to be a little bit more relaxed with the legs now. Let's bring the arms in, and now lift the arms up. So your palms are facing towards each other, so if you could clap your hands. I'm going to take a nice breath in to my belly and to my chest, and then as I breathe out, I'm taking a nice big stretch back with my arms here. I'm going to open my arms away to the side, and at some point here I'll be breathing in and bring the arms back up to the top. So it is literally just an arm circle, but it's a very controlled and focused arm circle. So we're really feeling nicely into those shoulders, trying to encourage as much space and as much movement through these shoulders as we can. So let's just take a couple more going this way. Don't worry if your breathing settles into a different pattern than what I say. Just really being aware of your breath is the main thing, not how precise it is on the movement. Let's go the other way. So we're going to drop down by the hips, lead with those little fingers out to the side. Nice big stretch up and over the top. We're coming down, we're circling out. Again, we're just making those nice big circles, stretching away, just breathing nice and easily. We're going to go a couple more times this way. Okay, now on this next one, we're going to drop the arms down, we're going to circle them out, but we're going to stop them here so they're coming into palms facing up into this nice horizontal position. I'm drawing my heels in a bit closer to my bottom again, like we did before with the shoulder bridging. And this time I'm not having a gap between my feet. I'm going to place my feet and my knees together. I'm going to hold the knees quite firmly here. So before I said it was like a soft magnet, gently drawing the knees together. Now it's like a really strong magnet and it's clamping your knees together. As I breathe out, I'm going to roll the knees over. My head is going the other way. And as I breathe in, I come back to center. I'm going the other way, breathing out and breathing in. Now, I'm not just letting my knees flop over here. I'm actually controlling them. So from the center of my body, around here, I'm actually pushing the knees over, controlling the weight of the legs to make sure that the back and the hips feel comfortable with where they're stretching to. And I'm just going to take another couple here. So breathe out, breathe in, breathing out, breathing in. One more to either side, breathing out, breathing in. Last one. And then back to center. Very nice. I'm going to stretch long again. So let's take those legs away, stretch them out. This time my arms are going to come overhead. So I'm reaching from my fingers down to my toes, making my body as long as possible. And I take a couple of nice deep breaths in and out. I'm going to flex my feet, so I'm pulling my feet up towards the shins like we did in the warm-up. And again, I take a couple of breaths. And then I relax the legs and relax the arms. I'm going to circle the arms back to the side again. Bending my knees back into a nice relaxed position. I'm going to pick up the leg that is at the back, so the one, again, that is furthest away from you. My leg that is away from you and the other leg are going to turn now towards you. So again, you probably want to do your back leg, so the leg that's furthest away from the screen, and then turn towards the screen. So my arms are going to stay out here stretched away, but my hips and my legs are turning. Now this hand is going to collect this leg, catch it and support it. And then now you've had a look at that position, and same as I'm doing, I'm looking at the screen, and so will you be, but then we want to bring the head into the centre, so I'm not really letting my head go with the movement, of course, to see it, and then come back to centre. So now it's just a case of feeling into this position and seeing how comfortable it is. If you need a bit less twist, then use the hand to push your leg a bit higher up like this, so I'm coming away slightly from the floor. If it's very comfortable, then I might encourage the leg and the hips to twist a bit more. Either way, wherever I'm going, I'm just breathing with that position. Now, next time I breathe out, I'm going to use this hand to push the weight of my leg back to centre. And then I'm going to change sides. So now it's my leg closest to the screen, so your hips will be turning away from the screen, but you can still keep your head looking this way. So this back hand is going to catch this leg now, so it's going to come up to meet it. I'm going into that twist, there. I can just let my head rest in the centre, or still keep looking towards the screen would be fine. And again, I'm just taking a couple of breaths. This hand, again, remember, if the leg is feeling a bit heavy and this is pulling quite a lot here, then push yourself back a little bit, so you're coming away from the floor with that knee. But if you want to go further, you try and go closer towards the floor. So it really depends on how this stretch feels. And I'm just taking my last couple of breaths now. Okay. I'm going to come back to centre, so using that hand and an out breath. So breathe in to prepare, and then breathe out and draw that back in. This time, both knees are coming into my chest. Knees together or knees slightly apart is fine, whichever feels better. I'm going to shuffle my bottom slightly along the mat. So my ribs stay where they are, and I'm trying to lengthen my hips away. So I come into this nice flat back position. Take a breath, in and out, and then start to draw circles. So I'm just rolling through that low back. So quite big circles here as I roll across the hips and around the whole of the low back area. Let's go the other way. Roll it round. All the time, just breathing nicely, easily, gently. And then from here, release. Placing the feet back down to the mat for the last time. I'm going to stretch long again. So just take those arms away, take those legs away, do a couple of breaths. Very nice. Now I'm going to bring my arms around to the side, bend the knees and turn myself to the side towards the screen, use this hand for support. I'm going to pop myself up into a sitting position. So when I get here, I'm just going to sit as comfortably as I can. Now a lot of people are comfortable in cross-legged, and if you are, that's great. But if not, my hips prefer a more relaxed position, so I tend to sit with my feet out a little bit more in this like prayer feet position. So from here, I'm going to take my hands together, clasp them, push them forward, drop the chin slightly, and open out my shoulders. So I'll show that from the side. So it's there. I do a couple of breaths in that position, so keep holding. I'm just going to readjust back to the front again. Okay, one last breath. And release. Then this hand comes down to the side. This hand is coming over the top, and I'm doing a really nice big stretch there. So I'm lengthening away. I'm breathing into it for a couple of times. I make sure this bottom doesn't lift up, so I keep my bum stuck down. And then I come back to center. I'm going to go over to the other side, so support here. Take this arm over and just reach as far as feels comfortable without your hips lifting up. So you're going to feel this big, long, full side body stretch, hopefully all the way up through. I'm going one more breath. And come back to the center. And I'm going to finish off by giving my shoulders a last little wriggle and roll. And we are done. Thank you very much, everybody. Really good job. I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you next week.